Today I'm going to show you how I made this animation using Callipeg. It's a fairly simple exercise of transformation and transition between different fruits. I got this idea from a video by Alex Grigg. He's making very relevant videos about animation principles, and he lately made a video about simple animation exercises. One of them was to move from one object to another with a transition and polish this transition to make it dynamic and alive. So let's see here how to animate these fruits, that could of course become transitions between any objects. First, I have my drawing layer. For this project, I went directly to the finished drawing without a rough, tie down and cleanup steps. The goal here was to go from this shape to this shape. In order to do that, I duplicated this drawing. To duplicate the content of a drawing sheet in Callipeg, you can either double tap to select the sheet, then use the duplicate with content icon by tapping it, or you can also drag it from here to anywhere you want. You can also long touch with two fingers on the canvas to display the floating menu, then copy, go to another place, and paste. And then you can validate the transformation. And the last way would be to double tap and extend, and then split from up to down to divide your sheet and keep the content. And remember that you can split from bottom to up to divide the sheet and create an empty one here. Then I transform my shape with the transformation tool. I moved the pivot point to here. You can leave a finger to be in the middle. And I compressed the shape from top to bottom. Since there is a compression, it must also expand to keep the same volume. From this, I made 3 different drawings to animate this compression. The drawings have different exposures. This one is exposed to 12 frames, this one 3, and this one 2. So the speed is increasing. Then the apple jumps with a slow out. A slow out means that the drawings are very close to one another. I can activate the onion skin here and manage which sheets are visible here. We can see that these 2 drawings are very close to one another, but this one is way further apart, so it creates an acceleration. Then the apple goes down following the same principle, so I just transformed here and here. This drawing here is just a little lower, and then we got the switch to the banana. We cannot see the apple hitting the ground. It's important to make a powerful transition. I have this drawing here exposed for 2 frames, and then the final banana shape here, and this one is just this one with a transformation. The banana stays on screen for 24 frames, which is 1 second here because my frame rate is set to 24 frames per second. Then we have the sliding. I was careful about these elements being at the same location, approximately. And in the final line, I added another transition with an ease in to make the rotation easier to read. This drawing here is not very well done, but in the animation it pretty much works. Then we get to the pear with different steps to get to the final shape, to get this bouncy effect. The final pear shape stays for 24 frames. Then transition with a huge exaggeration here to make a powerful pop. And then it changes to the strawberry with a slow out. Then it goes down with an ease in and an acceleration. Stays here for 24 frames. Transformation here again, same as the apple. So just transformation, pivot point, the jump, transition to the apple, which will turn back to its normal shape here, and then a little rotation. To do this, it's just pivot point here, and that. Now we have our animation that already works quite well, but I wanted to add some life when the fruits are not moving. For that, I decided to do what is called a faux fixe in French, which is a boiling line. Basically, it's several drawings that are very close to each other, but not identical, so we have a kind of vibration in the line. That's what we can see in this other layer, where there are 3 different drawings exposed for 3 frames each. And these drawings are going to be looped, so I don't have to draw them again. This boiling line effect adds a lot of life in the animation. I will go back to the studio and create a new shot to show you how to create a cycle. First, I choose a brush. I like how the Indian ink looks. Now I draw my apple, a very simple one here. Then I go to my next frame. I can see the previous drawing with the onion skin. And now I will draw another apple here. And I try to keep the lines almost identical to the first one. Then I draw a third apple here, and I want only the first one as a reference. It's done very quickly here, but you get the idea. If I play my animation, of course, it's too fast. So I will select all the sheets here with a tap and tap drag. I can also go to the menu here and select all the sheets. And then I set the exposure to 3. When my sheets are selected, I can create a cycle here. Then I double tap to select and I can extend it. The white lines you can see here are the end of the cycles. And then, since my animation only lasts for 24 frames here, I can long touch on the mark out marker and drag it further. And you can see here that I moved everything so that it ends on the white line. And now I have my loop. And if I draw anything here, for example, it will be drawn also on the same drawing sheets of the cycle. And I can also select the cycle and choose another type of repetition, from loop to ping pong to random, to get different kinds of effects. But in this situation, I prefer to set it to a simple loop. This is basically how to make a loop in Callipeg. Now we are back to our fruits and you can see all the cycles here, 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 to create the boiling line effect. Then I added colors on a layer under the line layer. To create that layer, I just duplicate without the content here. It will create the same structure, but without any content. I kept it simple, just a few colors for each fruit, or even only one here for the apple. And I colored it very roughly to keep some small gaps that would add some vibration. 2 colors for the banana, 2 colors for the pear, 2 colors for the strawberry, and then back to the apple. Then I added another layer by duplicating this one without the content, and then I can add shadow to my animation. It's a very simple lighting. I just have a light source coming from the left on the canvas. Another layer for the light on the left side, and finally a drop shadow layer. Of course, the shadow is smaller when the fruit goes up, and it turns larger when it comes down. Then I add a background color layer, 1 color for each fruit, and between 2 color layers, a transition color on a sheet exposed from 3 to 5 frames. To find what this transition color is, I use the floating menu and the floating color wheel. I use the color picker here to select the first background color, which is here. Then I go to the second color here, picker, this one, and I will choose the transition here. And then I can get a nice transition. And then a last background layer here, which is made of rough strokes of colors, to add another layer on the rough rendering. And if I add every layer here, we have the final animation. And that's it for this exercise. It's a nice practice to learn about squash and stretch, using spacing and exposure to create your timing, but also to have fun with colors and texture effects with boiling lines. As a bonus for this animation, I added some sound effects that I found in the included sound effects library in Final Cut Pro. The sound will add a lot of life to your animation, and it could be a nice way to just experiment. Okay, so that's what I wanted to tell you for this exercise. Obviously, it's just an example here, so you can do that with any objects or any characters. I would be happy to see what you have created in Callipeg from this lesson. So feel free to post your animation with #Callipeg and mention us on Instagram, TikTok or YouTube. If you have other exercises ideas to suggest, you can leave a comment, and it could be a future video about how to animate using Callipeg. Thank you for watching and have fun animating.